Welcome to number 14. So we made it all the way past 13, which was, going to be the last one. So we're welcome to the Fleet Professionals community. This is the first one for 2023. You all know me. Mine's Paul. Now, just if you aren't getting invites, now you may well be getting invites, but if you aren't getting invites, you can always register on our website under the resources tab. Then there's the Fleet community tab there, and at the very bottom there's a form. It's not very clear, but I'll actually put it on there. Now, I should mention Mark's not here, so we can kind of get away with anything, really. So what we're going to do while he's away, we're going to talk about all the things he would not normally let us do. Today, we are looking at what's new in Formbird Fleet, like we do frequently. We have some news, and Adam will talk us through some new functionality. And he's going to do a demo of a long-term replacement functionality that includes a new development for predicting the replacement of the assets, which it was originally scoped by Bundaberg. Thanks, Michelle. And the demo will showcase the new functionality. Additionally, we will give some background on existing functionality to help with replacement assets. I'm just letting somebody in. Okay, getting back there. Then we're going to throw it open to the floor for a general discussion about email notifications. So this is Paul and Adam's baby, or Adam and Paul's. I don't know which way, who's pushing it.
Paul and Adam's, I think. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, Paul Adams. It's a vexed question, as we all know. Emails, we get too many of them, and the ones that float to the top are often the ones that are least important, and we spend too much time on them. What should we do about email notifications within Formbird Fleet? I'd love to know, and we'll find out soon. Now, we record these as you're watching it as a recording, perhaps. If you want to, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up and a like. That would be really good, wouldn't it? Because then I'm like a social media YouTuber streamer. Also, the final thing, look, and also with the recordings, I know I say this every time, but we timestamp them so you can jump past all this rubbish and get onto the actual meat and potatoes. Also a reminder that Formbird is now approved supplier on 2 state vendor panels for fleet information management systems and telematics/GPS. I'm just letting somebody else in. And local buy in Queensland, Northern Territory and Tasmania, and New South Wales LGP, which stands for Local Government Procurement. Okay, today's feature. Adam, are you ready?
Yeah, I can share my screen, I think.
Okay, what are you going to talk about?
So just bear with me a moment. So yeah, as Paul was saying, this replacement development was really spec'd by Bundaberg, and as through the development we've tweaked it to fit into the Fleet app and integrate it with some existing functionalities as well. So like we already have like a bit of a replacement process which I'll go through, and also the risk replacement that's built into the application. So we've kind of tweaked it to make sure it works in with those particular things. Can I share my screen now, Paul? Oh, there we are. Good. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Paul, is it big enough?
It's huge.
Huge. Great. That's what we like. So I'm just going to take us through from the home page so you can kind of see where to go as well to find it. And this is in the new version 4 version of Fleet as well. So if I scroll down to the bottom to our reports and listings section, I've already handily searched for it, so that's good. I've already got ahead of myself there. I'll just go back to that. So I'm just going to look for a replacement in this reports list. And it's this one here, the replacement report. So you can see it loads as like an empty report, if you like, with just a table of the current replacement processes that are present. We've got a help section over the right here that has a little explainer about what the fields do and how the report works as well. So what I need to do here is select the number of years I want to run it for. So this whole replacement topic has I've seen a lot of different names flowing around. There's 10-year replacement seems to be the common language in the industry. But there's also what it's, I guess, really doing is trying to predict the replacement of assets over a long period of time. And we've just simplified the naming down to a replacement report to keep it simple. So I'm going to enter 5 years that I want it to run for. And you can see that it populates some fields across here with a report start and report end, and that's fixed. I can also set the span that I want to look at the fuel for. And that's particularly important for calculating your averages over a period of time. And that average is then used to predict the replacement of the asset as well. I'll just leave it as it is. You can also put in an inflation value. If you want to, you can select to just run the report for a given asset or select the assets that you want to run the report for. I'm going to leave it as open for this demonstration. And then I can click my run report button. So you can see here that we've got a summary table that's been generated and also a table with all the details as well. So I'll just look at this summary table first. The default display of this summary is by year, as you can see, and it gives you the count of the assets that are expected to be replaced in the year, and also the total amount of that replacement based on the replacement budget that's been entered for each of those assets. How the assets are put into years is a comparison between the replacement date that is entered on the asset, but also the rate of consumption, and looking at when the asset is going to meet its replacement based on the primary meter, and calculating a replacement date based on that. And I'll dive a little bit more into that in a moment. This summary table can also be changed to look at by department. So you can see by department what assets are going to be, or how many assets are going to be needing to be replaced. And also the budget. We can go into section, we can go into asset type as well, or we can go back to that year view of the summary. You can also export the data of whatever's presented in this table as well, just as a CSV file. So it's nice and easy to get that data out of the application. Any questions so far? Happy for me to continue? I'll keep going. So I'll move down to this detail table here. So this actually lists each row of this table is an asset that is going to be due for replacement in the future, essentially, captured in the report. Starting from the top here, we do have this, I think this is a really cool bit of functionality that Paul's developed, which is like a custom search builder. So it enables me to cut down what's actually in this, captured in this detail by certain conditions. So if I add a condition, I can say that maybe I only want, say, assets with a risk replacement completed for them. And I'll dive a little bit more into risk replacement a little bit later. Set the condition. So there's lots of options here. So you can say, that you want only those assets that are over a certain number of risk replacement points, for example. Or maybe I just want to see all the assets that have a risk replacement points. So you can see that's changed this the detail in this table here. We've also got a number of controls for the table. You can select column visibility. So, maybe you don't want to see the body type of the asset. You can remove that from the table. And maybe you don't want to see the responsible person. Maybe that's not particularly relevant for you. So you can remove that from the table as well. So you're just cutting down the number of columns. You can scroll across as well. So you can see there's quite a lot of data being presented in this table. Now, just like in the summary table, we can export whatever data is presented in this table at any point in time. So it captures what's actually being presented. You can clear all the filters, so that will get rid of any custom searches that you've added, any conditions that you've added to your search. You can select all, which selects every row in the table, or you can deselect them. I'll come back to this one in a moment. We can also select a single asset in the grid and show the fuel average. So we've got an an average per day based on the total fuel purchase date span, which is these dates up here. So it calculates an average over that whole time. But it's also overlaid with the last 3 months. Well, sorry, not last 3 months. The average over each 3 months within that period as well. So the 3 months to March, the 3 months to December, et cetera, et cetera. So you can it gives you a nice snapshot of the usage and how that average is varying over the year or years. All right. So diving a little bit further into this particular asset that I've selected here, which is 2490. Scrolling across, I'll just talk a little bit about the data that's in this table here to give you a bit of an idea.
Thank you.
So we've got our primary meter that's currently recorded against the asset. We've got our meter measure as well, so we can see it's an hours meter asset. You can also see fuel type, department section, blah, 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 blah. The next bit is the replacement due. So this is either the replacement date that's recorded on the asset or the calculated expected replacement date or predicted replacement date based on the consumption. So what it's averaging in consumption currently. So we can see for this particular asset, the replacement due is the 12th of the 11th, 2019. That's based on consumption. We saw before that primary meter is 13,000 and the replacement cycle is 8,000. So clearly it's quite far past its replacement. And then further across here, we can actually see what that date is, whether it's the replacement date or the predicted replacement date based on primary meter consumption by this column replacement trigger. And we can see here that that's actually a date that's been calculated by the primary meter. Compared to the asset above, we can see that that's actually the replacement date selected, entered on the asset. Happy with that? Great. So we can also see here that we've got a 3-month average and a maximum and median within that as well. And moving across here, we've got risk replacement points, which I'll come back to in a little while. And you can see this replacement budget and trade-in value and accessory value in there as well. Any further questions about this report and where I've got up to for the moment?
Yeah, Adam, I've got one. We're not at this stage yet, obviously, because we haven't built in our integration with the finance system. But what about replacement income? So the particular fleet item has generated enough replacement income just as another trigger, I guess.
Yeah, that's not something that was kind of considered in the initial spec. Is that something that would provide a lot of value to you guys?
Throwing it open.
Anyone else want to chime in on that point?
Yeah, no, it'd be helpful to have give you total life cycle cost if you sell something.
So I'm just going to make note of this here. Paul Arkell, does that sound like, something that could be built into this report, or do you think it might be better somewhere else? Obviously, we're not committing to anything at the moment.
Yeah, sure. We record income from hiring the asset. Yep. Is that where the source of data would come from, though, Dan, or is it some other source?
Yeah, I think you'd be looking at the hire, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, your hire rate has two functions, and that is operational costs. So it covers off all your variable costs, your fuel, etc. Yeah. No. And then the other component of that is a replacement cost. So it generates enough income to replace the item at its point of sale, or point of replacement, I guess. We manually do that now. We look at, we'll take a snapshot of basically what's due at the moment. And then we have to manually go through and go, yep, this one's met its replacement funding, or this one hasn't, through its internal rates. That makes sense.
So is that a key decision point for you, whether it's met that replacement funding?
Yes, it is.
Does that take priority over other things, or is that just one element in the decision-making process?
Yes and no, because from my point of view, from a budgeting point of view, if you're continually replacing assets and they haven't made their replacement funding, your top line or your bottom line of your budget is starting to erode.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gets you into a bit of strife at the end of the financial year. You overcapitalise basically.
Yeah. So would a reasonable way to present that in this report, for example, be just a column that represents the replacement income the income that it's generated, as just a visual comparison with the replacement budget?
Yeah. Or you could put a nifty little formula in there, so you've got your operational and expenses minus your budget or whatever.
Yeah. And does there need to be a predictive aspect to that, or is it just about figuring out whether it has met it or it hasn't met it?
Yeah, has met it or hasn't met it, I guess.
Bundaberg, is there any input from you guys as you kind of were deeply involved in the development of this?
Craig, are you there? Do you want to add anything?
Things okay?
Sorry, what was that?
I said at this stage it looks all good.
Looks all good. Is that income aspect valuable to you guys as well?
It's probably valuable to how much the asset is costing, but we don't use that as a trigger point as such.
You wouldn't use it as a trigger point?
Not at this stage. You would have to, depending on what the new business manager is targeting.
I guess a follow-up question here, just to delve into a little bit more, would be, so you've got your replacement budget, you've got your income. How does the operating expenses of the asset come into that? And maybe Dion, that's a question for you.
Yeah. So basically, you've got your trading value.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you've got your replacement budget. So obviously, if you take the residual there, and basically you've got your income's got to match your expenses plus your trade gap, I guess, or your replacement gap. Add those two together, and then you've reached your replacement target.
Right.
I find myself with sometimes, like with utilisation, if the machine's being underutilised, it hasn't met its replacement funding. So I'll actually extend the life of that item until it does trigger that replacement funding.
Right. Okay.
Otherwise, like I said, you're eroding into your capital budget if you continue to replace them early. And there's a problem with it too, that they tend to build up too much income when they haven't been replaced, and the vehicle or whatever's out there continually on hire. You might generate too much income. Well, that's not ideal for the department, because they should have had the machine replaced or vehicle replaced rather than just continually generating income.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see how it's valuable in that decision-making process, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone else want to chime in on that? Open floor. Otherwise, I'll move on.
Yeah, do we have the data to make all those decisions, do you think?
Sorry, Paul?
Do we have the data to make all those decisions? We've got all of that recorded?
I think so. I mean, it's dependent on the customer, I guess, using all the functionalities, but I imagine it's just total cost of all the servicing and repairs on the asset, and the income of the asset, or operating income, I guess, if you like, and then looking at the trade-in value versus the difference between the trade-in value and the replacement budget. Does that sound right? Yeah. I think we would probably at least be able to get all of that, but we need to take a deeper look at it before we do anything.
And I guess one last question is if you scroll across, Adam, to the column that says trigger.
Oh, yeah. Almost there. Yeah.
So it'd be 3 triggers. It'll be either date, PM, or this new one, income. Is there a priority As in, what would appear there if it was, if it was PM and income? Is there a priority that we put on these things, or?
I think we could probably this is just off the top of my head, obviously. I think it would be we'd only put it in this replacement trigger column if we were doing prediction about when it was going to meet its income, in my mind. Otherwise, I think it would be a separate column, and maybe we color it to show that it's met its funding, income requirements or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
That's kind of my first stab at it. I mean, I'm not sure we'd have the data to be able to try and predict when it was going to meet its income requirement with any kind of accuracy, really.
Without a breakdown of the expenses side, it becomes meaningless.
Yeah,
you've got to be able to break down the expense side into your operational and your replacement components for it to mean anything. And then, I'm not sure that it's a trigger unto itself anyway, because when you're looking at various items, if it has, earned enough money to replace, a lot of those dollars may be burnt up in maintenance costs. So it's got high maintenance costs. So therefore, it would be a trigger that would override the fact that it hasn't built enough funds to replace it. It's costing you more than it's worth. So you offload it, whether it's due to be offloaded or whether it's not.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point in terms of how we implement this, because some sites are using the income stuff but may not be using the expenses stuff, or some sites might not be capturing the expenses, and so there's lots of variables. And if we build it into that replacement trigger column, it could kind of override the date and PM, which are fairly concrete, with bad data if the expenses aren't being captured. So yeah, I think that pushes me even more towards the separate kind of column that's presented as information on top of it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just continue demonstrating the rest of this functionality here. So if the next part is, so I've presented all this information. I know when my assets are needing to be replaced. What's like the process on from here? And this is probably where we're delving into the existing functionality. So what I've demonstrated so far is all new stuff that Paul's developed. So here I'm going to go into kind of how we're tracking the replacement process within Fleet, and I'll also go into the risk replacement as well. So I can select a row or rows in the table and create the replacement document. And the replacement document is used to say, this is my existing asset that's due for replacement. I've made the decision we're going to replace this asset. And it's about tracking the progress of that replacement, and also creating a link to say, this is the new asset that we've got to replace the old asset. So that kind of exists as a record within the application. So I select the row in the table and I click create replacement document. Get a little dialog to say confirm. And so the app just opens a new tab, and with this document. So you can see it's created this new document for the replacement of 2490, and it's populated a whole lot of data that already exists on the asset itself. So it kind of takes away that work from you guys. And then we've got this replacement details section where you can track the status of the replacement through all the steps. You put in replacement priorities. So maybe this is, top priority, and just track all of these steps in the process. Now, this is something that hasn't had a lot of use to date amongst the sites. So if you do start using this, we're definitely looking for feedback on how it can be improved, or if there's anything missing, or if something's not really relevant, or any of that kind of stuff. We're definitely open to feedback on that. I can save my changes as I go, and then also I can select a new asset that's replacing it, or create a new asset that's going to replace this existing asset. And then where this shows up is down in this last table on the replacement report page below the detailed data that we were kind of diving into before. So this table, again, you can export all the data that's presented in the table. You can reload it, clear filters, and show all statuses as well. So it defaults to just showing new and active ones on this report. But if I click show all statuses, it shows me each one with specification developed and commissioning, etc. And you can see this is the one that I just created before. You can see it's got a status of new, it's got the asset, a replacement document, it's got the asset itself, and it's got all those kind of, just a summary of what's on that document, including the replacement priority. So you can see out of all your replacements that you're in the process of doing, you can, order them via the priority to see, the highest priority ones and see where they're at in their replacement process and what's kind of missing. So in addition to like selecting a row in this grid and clicking create replacement document, you can also just create a new replacement document using this button as well, which just creates a new blank document, and then you can manually select the assets. So I could select whichever asset I want to replace. And again, it'll still auto-populate all the fields that it has there. Any questions on that replacement process tracking bit, I guess? All clear? Continue on. Paul Hosking, do you have any questions about it?
Paul's on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm following very closely, and it's terribly exciting. So continue on. Are you finished, or is this we're just having a little bit of a break? No, are you there, Adam? Oh, sorry, Adam.
Can I keep going?
Yeah. You just
have I talked for too long? Is that why you're trying to mute me?
No. I did actually accidentally mute you.
That's all right. That's all good. All right. So the replacement risk replacement points is generated from another place in the application, which I'll just kind of show you a quick little example of now. If I go over here, so on each asset you have the option to go to the risk replacement tab, and it basically, this is a way to dive deeper into the condition of the asset, enter all this stuff to predict or to give a rating about whether it should be replaced or not, essentially. And I'm not going to go too much into this, but there are some fields that are populated from the asset directly. If they're populated, there's some fields that the user has to enter when they complete this form. And there's some more assessment stuff here, and then you click calculate, and it produces this graph of costs and trends and downtime and the count of replacements. And then for each time you click one of those calculate button up here, it produces a record of this document at that time, which results in these documents down here. So that's just where, I guess why I'm talking about it is just to say where this replacement points comes from is the total that's recorded on this document, that's calculated on this document. So that's where that number comes from in this table. Ian, did you want to provide a little bit more context on the risk replacement stuff and where it's kind of come from?
Let's just go visual.
Are you going to?
Yeah, so where the fleet replacements, risk-based fleet replacement came from research out of University of Massachusetts in the States, and it was really giving the fleet manager some additional tools to be able to justify their replacement program, and it was to give because when you go into BAT, it's at the executive level or at the budget meetings, and you're going to be bidding against maybe road repairs or building repairs, bridge repairs, repairs to the swimming pool, and you want to put up a considered case that is structured, it's defendable, and you can justify why you want to replace a vehicle. And these are there are 18 components in 4 broad categories that allow you to do this, many of which are actually just automatically populated. And yes, you will review the vehicles individually. What it does do is it will give you a comprehensive, as you've seen from what Adam has shown, a comprehensive list, but it allows you to focus on those in that 65 to 100 replace area. Okay, and that gives you a good chance to focus in on those, but also the preparation is really anticipating the lead time could be as much as 18 months, 2 years to get a replacement vehicle. You've got to specify it, you've got to go to tender, you've got to then allow for the delivery time, and we've seen supply chain issues this last 2-3 years. So that can be as much as 2 years. So you need to do your preparation work well in advance. So yeah, what we're doing is this is just built-in functionality that's there, and the more data that you have, the more you'll be able to use these tools.
Yeah, I remember seeing a demonstration once where, I don't know whether you were there, Adam, and you probably weren't there either, Ian, but with the risk-based replacement, it mentioned that you could assign a value to how much the vehicle was loved. And I thought that was kind of cute, you know. Can you see that? Do you know where that is, Adam? Or is that easy to show? Or is this vehicle loved or something?
I think it'd probably be like the nature of work. So critical to business, core business, aesthetic, maybe.
Oh, aesthetic. That might be it. Yeah. Very, very clever. But anyway, but that adds basically points to the value of whether we keep that machine going.
I believe, but I don't think any of the clients have challenged it yet, but you can adjust those figures or the level of priority that you're associating to one of the factors. And you can set those, the 0 to 55 and 55 to 65, you can change those ranges. But that's
yeah, I'm not sure that's in the functionality at the moment, Ian, but
no, that's as I say, nobody's really using that at the moment, but I think they will get to this area at some time soon.
Any other questions on replacement? Anything? No? All good? All right. So I guess the next thing is really to talk about email notifications just a little bit. So we've had quite a few, I guess, inquiries from different sites over the journey about emailing more for different things. So I just wanted to have a quick discussion about it, kind of go over where we are now, where we're going to be with new developments that have already happened, and then put it open to the floor really about what kind of things we want emails for and what kind of things we don't want emails for. So the status at the moment is that in production environments is that an email is generated and it goes to the responsible people assigned to the workshop for when requests are created. So that's the primary one. There is also an optional email on the pickup event when the request is changed to a status of pickup. So that's where we are at the moment in production environments. In dev, there's been more work that's been done and that's added in notifications for daily driver check sheets that are completed with urgent fails. And also there's, I believe there's emailing for the tag outs as well. So I guess in our, the way we look at it from this side is we're really cautious about putting too many emails built into the app, with the view that if we have many emails coming into an inbox, if I get lots of emails and they all kind of look the same, they lose a bit of value, I guess. So we're very cautious about doing that. We're very aware that however we approach this is going to affect all the sites as well. So this is really where looking for more guidance. So does anyone have any views about more email notifications, less email notifications, alternatives, anything like that?
Yeah, Adam, one thing that we've explored here in the workshop is actually SMSing rather than emailing.
Yep.
Because we have the operator or the driver's phone number stored in there. Whether that could be an option, particularly for pickup and drop off vehicles and service reminders and that type of thing.
Paul, is that something we can discuss now, or is that more of a go away and think about it kind of item?
No, I believe there's a SMS service that we have. I haven't used it, but I think Pete knows a bit about it. So it's an option.
So it's capabilities of the platform, but it hasn't been implemented in the fleet application, essentially.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other sites share that view that would be a good thing to have, or a bad thing to have? And does that replace email notifications for those particular things as well?
It's definitely silence out there.
It is, yeah. I'm always scared when I have these discussions. You know, if anyone's going to answer my questions.
Don from Bundaberg Regional, mate. We don't really use the email notifications at this stage. We find our user groups change so regularly, it just causes confusion in the end. So, yeah, we do get a heap of notifications, but we don't utilise them for that reason.
So you'd want to be able to switch them off, Don?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Fair enough.
I send them to a different folder now in my email inbox, just so that they're not filling my normal inbox up. So
as a larger site, Don, would you experience like a lot of emails each day? What's kind of the experience of your inbox, I guess?
Oh, probably 30 to 40 emails a day. Yep.
Yeah.
At this point. It was a lot worse at one stage. Yep. I think we did switch some off early on in the piece.
Yeah.
I think
from a workshop perspective, we probably get both Russell and I probably get in excess of anywhere up to 80 a day. So that could be for various different bits and pieces. So yeah, I've got them filtered into a folder so that they don't clutter my main inbox.
Do you refer to them afterwards in that folder, or do they just kind of go and stay there? And
no, I don't have any need to refer to them because we're doing. I work side by side with a supervisor, so we're doing all of those supervisor reviews. So we're receiving the notification for stuff that we're already reviewing.
Yep.
So from my perspective, no, I don't need to go back and look at those.
Yeah, great. David at Cardinia, do you have any inputs on this one?
Trying to get off mute there.
That's all right.
In regards to texts and emails, I'm more for exception reporting, because you don't want to bombard people with stuff because it just becomes another email or text people ignore. So I prefer exception. If everything's all right, leave it alone. Notify them when they need to, and educate everyone to respond.
What's your meaning behind exception reporting? I guess could you give me an example?
I suppose
with my understanding.
Speeding report, overdue service. Rather than just an email to tell you everything's going all right.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Who else have we got here that I can pick on? Chris, are you around to provide input on this one?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, there we are. Hey, Chris.
How are we?
Good. What do you reckon?
Look, we only need emails for the daily driver check sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was sort of like, if we can filter it away, fine. Use it on need basis sort of thing. So,
And what circumstances are you looking for the daily driver check sheets?
just if the operator deems the machine to be tagged out.
Right. Okay.
We're still not getting any notifications on that. So
yeah. All right. So it sounds like we're probably on the right path. There's the general vibe that I'm getting from this discussion is that all the email notifications probably aren't necessary. It's really about just those certain circumstances like overdue services, maybe like the SMS pickup, drop off, service reminders thing, which I guess is the overdue servicing as well, potentially. And then only emails for the tagging out urgent daily driver check sheet stuff. All right. Any last words from anyone else on the call?
I know that Forbes use the notification services quite a bit.
They do?
Adam, yeah.
Yeah. So we probably don't want to get rid of it, but we need to maybe.
Oh, we probably need to manage it a bit better. Yeah.
Sorry?
So we need to probably manage it a bit better, give options to opt out, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like the right approach.
I think, like in general, the email service uses whoever's linked to the workshop.
Yeah.
So, like if you're getting too many, I think the first step would be to just remove yourself from the workshop, remove the link from the workshop. Because if it can't find you, if it can't find an email address, it won't email you. So,
yeah. Yeah, the only issue with that might be that it might change the display for the workshop supervisors on their homepage.
I'd have to check.
We have to check. No worries. All good. All right, cool. That was very, very good discussion and gives us a lot of insight. So thank you, everyone. Any other items that anyone wants to chat about? Paul, Hosking, what's next?
Really, what's next is just to thank everybody for coming, I think. Unless there's anyone else in the group who has anything they'd like to bring up for next week's, the next meeting, which is going to be on the 4th of May, or May the 4th be with you.
Oh no, not another joke.
So that's the Jedi Day. I'm hoping everyone's laughing there. So if anybody has anything that they'd like to discuss, that would be the best thing to do, is to email anybody in the team, because they'll say, "Oh, Paul will like this." Because we do actually have something for next time. What is it, Adam? You give us you. I remember you said something. What we might have.
Oh, okay. You're putting me on the spot here, Paul. Hadn't prepared this part. I think what I might have mentioned to you was we did a bit of development, and it kind of came out of Nambucca Valley Council around bulk fuel transactions. So capturing those instances where an asset is refueled from like a council-owned tank, whether that's at a depot or on the back of a truck or something like that. Essentially, those fuel transactions, if you like, that don't occur through fuel cards.
Cool. Okay, so it's something about capturing fuel is what I heard.
That's the gist of it, yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope everyone else understood that. So thank you, Adam. That was really great, and thank you everyone else for turning up. And the recording will be uploaded. I'll send you all an email next week, telling you where it is and timestamps. And see you on the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Okay. See you later, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.